الرحمن الرحيم ثم بدا لهم من بعد ما رأوا الآيات ليسجننه حتى حين ودخل معه السجن فتيان قال أحدهما إني أراني أعصر خمرا وقال الآخر إني أراني أحمل فوق رأسي خبزا تأكل الطير منه نبئنا بتأويله إنا نراك من المحسنين قال لا يأتيكما طعام ترزقانه إلا نبأتكما بتأويله قبل أن يأتيكما ذلكما مما علمني ربي إني تركت ملة قوم لا يؤمنون بالله وهم بالآخرة هم كافرون واتبعت ملة آبائي إبراهيم وإسحاق ويعقوب ما كان لنا أن نشرك بالله من شيء ذلك من فضل الله علينا وعلى الناس ولكن أكثر الناس لا يشكرون صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد My respected listeners, with the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have come to Masjid to offer Salatul Dhuhr with the congregation. Indeed, it was the fazl, it was the rahmat of Allah that we came to His house. And then after the completion of the salah, at this very moment, we are all sitting in the masjid, in this circle of tafsir. This could not have happened without the tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With His tawfiq, we all have gathered here to listen to the tafsir of Surah Yousef, in which the story of Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam has been described with the details. But one thing we need to keep in our minds at all times, the Quran is no book of stories, tales, but whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings a story of any prophet, the whole purpose and objective behind it is to provide lessons and guidance to the listeners. And we find there is only one story of one prophet which has been described in full details, and that is the story of Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam. from the beginning to the end, this surah contains hundreds and hundreds of guidance, instructions, and lessons for us and for the listeners. In our previous gathering, we reached to this point where I was mentioning the verse I was explaining in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described how Zulaykha, the wife of the Aziz al-Misr, arranged the food party, and she invited all the ladies in this food invitation. And the whole purpose behind was because the women of Misr, Egypt, were talking about Zulaykha, how she fell in love with Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam, and she was attracting Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam towards her. And this talk, circulation of this talk was bothering her, that these women are talking about me. So because these women had not seen Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam, and Zulaykha wanted to justify, her doing, why she fell in love with Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam. And then when the woman came, and she also placed a knife on the table or wherever the food was arranged. And the women, as soon as Yousef alayhi salam came in the room and they saw him, and they started, instead of cutting the fruit, the knife started running on their hands. So they cut their hands off after seeing the beauty of Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam. After seeing, even the women, they had to say this, that this is not a man, he is an angel. How shining face he has, how pretty and how beautiful he is. And the women also started saying and encouraging the Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam to listen to Zulaykha. Anyhow, all these things happened, and before the Aziz al-Misr, all the proofs of the innocence of Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam had come, and he had seen all the proofs of innocence, that Yousef is innocent. After seeing a small child speaking in the favor of Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam, after seeing the shirt is torn from the back, this was the proof that Yousef is innocent. After seeing everything that Yousef is innocent, he had not done anything wrong. Eventually, they decided, Yousef, Aziz al-Misr and his advisors decided to imprison Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam for a time. Why? Because the people were talking about it. And they wanted to get rid of this talk from among the people. So they thought, when Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam is going to stay for a time in the prison, this talk will die. And people will eventually they will stop talking about us. So because they were being disgraced among the people. Look, this woman being a wife of the governor, she was attracted by Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam. She fell in love for Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam. So all these talks were bothering him, Aziz al-Misr, his family. So they all decided to imprison Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam. And also it was a wish of Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam that he made a dua to Allah, that I cannot stay in a house wherein I am being dragged towards sin. His chastity was in danger. So he made a dua to Allah, and Allah accepted and answered his dua. So eventually he went into prison. And the day he went in prison, on the very same day, 2 young men also were entering the prison. They were also in the prison. And who these 2 men were who came to the prison? Allah is saying, وَدَخَلَ مَعْهُ السِّجْنَ. On that very day, 2 young men entered the prison. قَالَ أَحَدُهُمَا. These 2, one of them said to Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam, that إِنِّي أَرَانِي أَعْصِرُ خَمْرًا. I see myself in the dream that I am pressing wine. Actually, he was the cupbearer of the king. He was the royal cupbearer. He was a servant, royal servant. وقال الآخر إني أراني أحمل فوق رأسي خبزا فأكل طير منه. The other one said to Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam, I saw in my dream that I am seeing that I am carrying some bread under my head, of which the birds are eating. So can you tell us the interpretation of this dream? The day Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam entered, it is mentioned in the tafasir books, that Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam, when he went to the prison, because he was a prophet of Allah, messenger of Allah, and when anyone fell sick, he would go and visit him. Whenever he saw somebody is in grief, he would go, he would talk to him, and he would give him the lessons. Be patient. Don't lose your hope on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is there to help you. Time will come, then you will be released. And all his fellow prisoners, they were so familiar with him, they were so happy with him, they loved him. Even the officer who was in charge of the prison, he was so much impressed by Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam, after seeing his, how pious this young man is. He said to him one day, look, oh Yousef, had it been in my hand, I would have released you straight away. But it is not in my hand to release you. But one thing I can do for you is that, you will not face any inconvenience in the prison. You are free to walk in the prison where you want to go. So all the people, all the prisoners were really happy with him. And even they expressed this feeling to Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam, we really love you. So on one occasion, what he said to the prison, he said, please don't love me. He said to them, don't love me. In the past, whenever someone loved me, I had to suffer one way or the other. Whenever someone loved me, I had to suffer, I had to go through suffering. He said, when I was a child, my father's sister, my auntie, she loved me, and then later I was blamed for a theft. Then a time came, my father, Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam, he showed love to me, he loved me. What happened then? I ended up being in the well. My brothers became jealous of me and they threw me in the well. Not only that, because of my father's love, I was in a well, then I was from there, bought by some travelers, I was brought here in Egypt, I became a slave. I had to leave my own country. So don't love me. Zulaykha loved me and I ended up in the prison. So he said to the prison, don't love me, don't show your love to me, because in the past the experience shows whenever someone loved me, I had to suffer. One way or the other, I had to suffer. My auntie loved me, I had to suffer. My father loved me, I had to suffer. Zulaykha started showing love to me and I'm suffering. So don't show me love. So these two men, they said, oh Yousef, we saw these dreams. Abdullah bin Masud radiallahu ta'ala, who says, actually they did not see a dream. These two men, they did not see a dream. They were testing Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam. Because Yousef alayhi salam mentioned, he announced, look, if any of you see any dream, Allah has given me the knowledge of giving interpretation of the dream. So you're most welcome to come and ask me the meanings of your dreams. So these two men, according to Abdullah bin Masud radiallahu ta'ala, who he says, these two men actually, in reality, they did not see any dream. They just made it up, just to test Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam. But Abdullah bin Abbas radiallahu ta'ala, no, they really saw the dreams. These two men, they really saw the dreams. So what did he do? He said to them, before he could mention the dream to them, before he mentioned the dream, what he did, in order to create the confidence in their hearts, what he did? He related to them, he mentioned to them his miracle. He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed me with this miracle. The food which comes to you in the prison, either comes from your friends, your family, from your home, wherever the food comes for you, before the food comes to you, I can tell you the taste of the food, how much, the quantity, how much the food will be coming, what time it will be coming. I can tell you all this. And he used to do this. Whenever the food was to come in the prison, beforehand, in advance, he would tell the prisoners, your food is coming, this much food is coming, the taste of food will be this, the color of food will be this much food will be coming. Why did he this? Just to create the confidence. He wanted to make these people confident on him. That they should trust Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam. So Allah blessed him with a similar miracle as he blessed Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. Similarly, Isa alayhi salam used to say to people, look, when they used to come to him, he used to inform them, you came from home, you ate this. What you left home, I know, and he used to mention to them. So Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, I will give you the dream. I will mention, and I will tell you the meaning of the dream. But I can tell you that, whatever food comes to you, I can tell you how much the food and what time. And how he used to mention is to happen. How he used to describe, the food used to be, as he described. So first of all, he mentioned his miracle to them, and then he said to them, not only that, then he brought forward his background of his family, who he belongs to, his family. Now this is, it's a nature of a human being. When they come to know that so and so, he belongs to a very, high family. Even our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions, about himself, who his family was. This is a nature of a human being, that when they come to know so and so, he belongs to a very high, family. Then the listen, they will pay attention to that person. So here similarly, Yousef did the same. First of all, he mentioned his miracle to these people. Then he mentioned who I am. In his conversation, he said to them, he said, "Inni taraktu millata qawmin la yu'minu billahi." First of all, he gave a da'wat. He gave a da'wat of tawheed. He said, "I have abandoned the people who do not believe in Allah and they are denier of hereafter." I have left those people, who don't believe in Allah. Basically he was giving the da'wat of tawheed to people of the prison. Look, I have abandoned them. And then he said, وَاتَّبَعْتُ مِلَّةَ آبَاءِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَإِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ. He said, I have followed the religion of my forefathers. Who are they? My forefathers, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, Ishaq alayhi salatu wasalam, Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam. In other words, he introduced, his forefathers to them. My forefathers are Yaqub, Ishaq, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. مَا كَانَ لَنَا أَن نُشْرِكَ بِاللَّهِ. He said, it is not proper for us to associate anyone or anything with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Here they say the da'i, the da'i, the one who invites others towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This how he should be at all times. Remember one thing, da'wat, it is not limited to pulpit, to the stage, to the member. Dawat is not limited to the conferences and to the these gatherings. Dawat is such a thing that you can give dawat even while you're traveling. You're sitting in a car, you stick in an aeroplane, you stick in a train, wherever you are at your workplace. As here, dawat, Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam giving dawat to those who are in the prison, his fellow prisoners. He gave them dawat. So dawat is something that the da'i should, whenever the ulama they say the da'i should be, whenever someone comes to him for something, for other reasons, before he should say anything else, he should give him da'wat of tawheed, of iman, of amal salih, as Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam did. Two prisoners, they approached him for their own personal matter, which was a dream of each. Before he could mention the dream to them, Yousef alayhi salatu wasalam, he relates his miracle, then he gives them dawat, then he introduces them who I am and who I belong to, my family, who is my family. And then later on he mentions the meaning of the dream. So he says to them, he says, ذَلِكَ مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ. If I am a messenger of Allah, and if I belong to family like Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam, or my forefathers are Ishaq and Ibrahim, this all is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the grace of Allah. This is the rahmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He chose us, to be His prophets. And He said, وَعَلَى النَّاسِ وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَشْكُرُونَ. He says, the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon people is so much that the majority of the people are ungrateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Day and night the people witness the rahmat and the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the reality is the majority, the most of the people, they do not pay attention to this reality, which is that they are in the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all times. When you wake up in the morning, you just consider over yourself. Even, you slept at night. This sleeping is a ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You go and you see there are people who take tablets. They can't sleep. They can't sleep. ni'mah, and sleeping is a ni'mah. So, when we wake up in the morning, we should always consider, look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed me, bestowed upon me a blessing of sleep. I slept, I took a rest at night. This is the rahmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, in the morning, I have woke up in a state that I am healthy, in safety, in security. You go around and people, people are, they are unsafe. Their belongings, their properties, their families are unsafe. There are people, their families, their children go, they never return home. They are kidnapped. So, we should always ponder all the ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which are, Allah showers on us day and night. But unfortunately, what happens, our zain, our mind never goes towards that side. And we are always thinking of our interest, how I can make money, how can this happen to me? But we never ever think of the ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One thing you should remember, whenever the ni'mat you start thinking of Allah, that this is a ni'mat of Allah, this is a ni'mat of Allah, then remember, then you start thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't thank Allah when we don't bring the ni'mats of Allah in our minds. Everything, all dunya is in our minds. This, I have to do this. This is my need. This is my interest. And we are there, after our interest, after our needs. So how I can fulfill my need. But the thought of Allah's name, the blessing doesn't come in our mind. And this is what Yousef said. He said the majority of the people who are enjoying the grace of Allah, the ni'mats of Allah, but yet they are ungrateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then a time comes when Yousef he mentions the interpretation of the dream, what the meaning of the dream is. The time does not allow me, inshallah, if Allah wills, in our next gathering I will mention this. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa mawlana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa sallim. Rabbi ghafir warham wa anta khairu rahimin. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمته.
أجر ضعف لك. أجر ضعف. واحد اسمي هذا كريدم كذا. How do you say this name spelling?
تسمع وتنشر الآخرين. Coming from نشرة الأخبار. تنشر spread. نحن ننشر الخير. ننشر الخير. الآن أذهب إلى معي سيارة. اشتريت من هذا معي. الله يبارك. نقرأ.
اللهم بارك فيك.
آمين. leave it from here, no problem. This is safe.
Alright, no worries. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,